Loose White dive on it.
This is twice now the Celtics have been first to the floor.
They try to save with Horford. Unbelievable.
Boston first to the floor. So good.
Brown fakes, fires up the three. Bang! Tatum dives on the floor. Everybody dives. Jaylen Brown with the flush. Blocked by Porzingis. He's doing it all. Tatum spinning, driving, layup. Got it. Washington drives. Blocked by White. Oh, what a block from Derek White.
Welcome in, First to the Floor podcast. Ben Vallis and Wayne Spooney, joined by a special guest and friend of the show from NBC Sports Boston. It is Chris Forsberg. Forsberg, it's been too long, mate. How you doing?
I know. What's going on, boys? How's everything?
Doing good, man. Doing really good. The Celtics are doing a lot better than I expected, which means I'm doing a lot better than I expected.
Life is just better in general.
Indeed.
Absolutely. Yeah. Forsberg, you put up a piece on NBC Sports Boston recently. The link is in the description of this show, outlining the Celtics' best and first round matchups. I think it's timely because as Jason Tatum looks better and better, and as Jalen's scary, like sudden out of nowhere Achilles diagnosis, which has thankfully disappeared from the injury report. Our expectations are skyrocketing, and our thoughts are very much drifting towards the postseason. So I was hoping, obviously you're the expert, you've done the research, the article is great, and it goes in very much into detail as to the happy paths and the unhappy paths that the Celtics might take into the first round. 7 of Boston's final 10 games are against potential first round opponents. The Knicks would be round 2 if we're fortunate enough to progress through the first round, which I think many of us think we will. And they stay at the number 3 spot below the Celtics. The Celtics hold a 2-game lead over the Knicks. The pool of teams that we're looking at, this is where I meant to have my list prepared. Ready to I do have a graphic from your article here somewhere.
Ooh,
as I filibuster a little bit. Here we go. Here's the list of teams that we're looking at. So Toronto, Miami, Orlando, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and Charlotte. Walk us through your mindset here, Forsberg. What's the path of least resistance for the Celtics? What's the hardest and most hopefully avoidable path? And what's your thinking going into the postseason?
So, I mean, just in general, I think you nailed it when you said, like, our minds are starting to wander a little bit. I think we've checked all the boxes that we kind of need to check. Like, what's left? Vooch getting back out there for the last 3 games or so and maybe shaking some rust and seeing what he can do. But other than that, it just feels like hold down the 2 seed, let the 7-8 figure itself out, and every night it's going to kind of wiggle. It's one of those weird years where like the top 4 is pretty much locked in unless Cleveland gets frisky here, and I don't even think they want to. I think they want to stay at 4. So I think top 4 is probably pretty set, but 5 through 10 is super volatile. And so my almost for my own education, I was like, let's just take a look. Like, who should I be rooting for in this situation, and what is the most likely scenario? Basketball Reference is awesome and does their 10,000 daily simulations. Now they can't factor in rest at the finish line and all this, but it gives you an idea of where things are trending. And one of the things I was just, kind of surprised is it does feel like that Atlanta and Toronto are probably the most likely to shimmy into that 5-6, but nothing is set in stone, especially because all these teams are playing each other at the finish line, just like the Celtics. And so what I did is I dove in, I kind of looked at, using Cleaning the Glass, how the 5 through 10 had fared against top 10 in point differential, which is essentially the best of the best, the teams that they will be playing if they make it through the play-in round, and how they fared against good defenses. Because I think, we know the Celtics have a great offense, but their defense has really gone up a couple levels in the second half of the season. And so how do those teams fare, especially in that situation? And like the biggest and maybe most surprising takeaway to me, I guess it's not surprising when you think about it, it's like you should be rooting for Toronto. Like, Toronto cannot score in a playoff series consistently enough. It's so weird. They have all these like individual pieces that you're like, oh, I kind of like that guy. I like this guy. Yeah. As a whole, you're just not scared of it. And no disrespect to my friends up north, I would love nothing more than now that we don't have the games on our air in the first round, so we get to travel. I would love to go to Canada when it's not snowing. Presumably it's not snowing in Canada right now. I don't know.
2 months a year.
But I love Toronto as a city. I'd be glad to go up there, especially because I do think the Celtics, who back in the day they struggled up there, now they just kind of cruise up there. So if you're looking for something to root for, I don't think the percentages are very high. They slipped to 7-8, but there is a chance there. And then like the other thing that jumped out was that, Orlando, and maybe not a huge surprise, but they've struggled a little bit against better competition, and their offensive ratings plummets against bad teams. And I think that would be the other ideal sort of first round matchup. And so if we can manufacture it or speak it into existence where Orlando and Toronto meet in that 7-8 game, then everything will be groovy. But unfortunately, there's like the Phillies and Charlottes of the world that are conspiring to try and make things difficult. And I think again, just from what you've watched lately, the Hornets are legit and in how they can score. Are they ready to be, take that next step? I don't know if I want to see a Charles Lee team in the playoffs. So yeah, that's just kind of like the general mindset is like, I think there of those 6 teams in that mix, there's probably 3 you really want to see. And then there's 3, and I would say like the 3 you don't want to see are probably Atlanta. I mean, maybe even Atlanta's on the Miami with Spo, Charlotte because of all their offense, and Philly just because like I don't think they're going to win a series, but just because they have some talent. And then everybody else, you'd be fine with the chips land.
Yeah, ultimately, Charlotte is definitely the one for me that I want to avoid the most. Like if you just go point differential against top 10 teams from January 1 until now, Charlotte's second in the NBA. They're plus 3.8 against top 10
crazy
teams. Yeah, they're only 6-6, so their like expected win differential is like 1.5 worse than they expect. But yeah, they are basically the second best team in the NBA against top 10 teams in the second half of the season. Like to me, that is indicative of a team you just want absolutely no part of in the first round. Although I do think they are kind of where Detroit was last year. Well, they'll scare the hell out of a top seed and like losing 6, but everyone's like next year, watch out for them. Philly to me is the fascinating one, the weird one. I feel like we just have the mental dominance of Philly, so I would be extremely confident going in, but they have one of the worst point differentials against top 10 teams in the second half of the season. But like throw it all out, right? If Embiid's healthy, if Paul George is juicing but hasn't got caught again yet, like they're just a fundamentally different team, even though I think we match up really well with their small guards. Like you can't play Maxey and Edgecombe against us for any like large stretch of the games without your defense really suffering. So I'm with you, like, but to me Charlotte is kind of a league of their own as far as like teams I do not want to see. Unfortunately, how the chips are falling right now, there's like kind of a really good chance we do see them.
You kind of need to knock them down a peg, right? Like with one more head-to-head meeting, like that might actually mean something where you were like, you really want them in the 9-10 game because it would be great if they came out of there. I actually think they would really push Detroit because there's so much, we don't know what's going to happen with Cade and what's his health going to be going into the first round. Even if he's just shaking Russ, like I think the thing that's going to hold Detroit back is they didn't make a move for enough shooting at the deadline. I think they're going to look back and kind of regret that. And so, like, could Charlotte, if they're just having one of those nights where they put up a bunch of points, same thing. It might fizzle. It might be they get knocked out in 6 and they say, hey, next year it's time to take another step. And maybe they go add a veteran that they, can kind of push them over the top. The Steph Curry recruitment will start immediately, depending on what happens in Golden State. And but probably they're not ready for it, and yet I still want nothing to do with that team based on the way that one game here in Boston played itself out.
The dream for me is a Knicks Sixers first round matchup. Just have those two beat the hell out of each other. Like Philly, notable second round bed shitters, but 5 of their last 7 first round playoff appearances they won and progressed to the second round. Second round obviously is where the problems lie for Philly. First round, no issues because it's like too early in the day for their health issues to surface, I suppose. So I would be terrified is too strong a term to face Philly in the first round, but if you get a healthy Embiid, you get a healthy Maxey, you get this healthy post juice, but like still jacked from the juice, Paul George. That's concerning to me. Their issues do not lie in the first round. Whereas I think maybe for me at least the lesser of those two evils in the first round is Charlotte. I am worried about the Joe Mazzulla coaching tree pedigree of Charles Lee. But I just think that there's too many seals on that team that you can go at to use some Joe Mazzulla parlance. And for me, that makes them more vulnerable than the Sixers, albeit very high potential to catch fire in that first round. So I guess ideally what we're saying is like, let's just please avoid both of those teams at all costs.
But Forsberg, sell me on why you want to see the Magic. Not because I think the Magic have any fucking chance to be because they don't. But like, I truly think the way the Magic played impacted how we showed out against the
For sure.
because
it just seems like a different confidence level. Like last year, they were that young team coming in. They were physical. Celtics didn't respond well to it. I thought with the Bain trade that they were going to be one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and it's really been mind-boggling that they haven't been better this year. That like if you ever go venture onto the Orlando Magic subreddit, it's all like we've got a problem with Paolo and we don't know what to do, and like there's no clear path forward, and they vacillate between being like really mad at the coach and really mad at the team. And it's fascinating that, look, when you spend that many first round picks to think you're going to take a step and add a piece that's going to kind of push you over the top, I can understand the frustration. Now they've had injury stuff, and I think it's fair to say like maybe their point differential and stuff like that isn't indicative of what they could be. And certainly, as you said, like last year, we probably have a little bit of PTSD where, from taking out Tatum to like all the stuff that they did in that physical series, it wore you down going in against the Knicks. It just doesn't feel the same this year. I don't feel like the same, like, ooh, that's going to be a grind. I think you could really put that team questioning itself in a hurry if you took care of business early. But, again, it's weird to think like as much as we sit here and say the East is not very daunting, there's still something in every team in that 5 through 10 that you can like at least talk yourself into. And then you go back and look at the history, and outside, and I'll whisper this because it's talk about PTSD. Outside of the Heat in 2023, no one comes out of the play-in and really does anything. And so, I just think you got to be from a Celtics perspective. You just got to look. Tatum looks ready. Jalen certainly looks ready. Just keep these guys healthy to the finish line. I feel pretty good about round one.
Is this the first year where, like, because like the Heat have previously been this anxiety-inducing matchup, like Spo, the puppet master, and no matter who's on the roster, he's like completely in control and schemes really well against all opponents, and we've seen it historically against the Celtics as well. For me, this is kind of the first year where I'm like letting go. I don't know if it's just a mindfulness approach more broadly in my life, but like I'm finally letting go of the Heat-based anxiety. Are you there as well? I mean, last night we see them like they shot basically 90% from three, and the Celtics like still completely blew them out. Is that enough to sort of put you over the edge as far as no longer worrying about them?
You know what? Actually, my biggest takeaway from last night, I should have said this on air, but it feels like anecdotally, whenever the Celtics saw a zone defense in previous season, they like lost their mind and reverted to a team that like as if they had never played organized basketball before, didn't have any idea where the nail was, and it would just destroy us. And then last night, watching them just pick apart whatever Spoelstra tried to junk up, made me go, okay, if we get this series, there's only so much Spoelstra can control out there. Now you can talk yourself into if Norm Powell's out there and that group that they had last night is hitting 24 threes, like it's potential they could push you. And I don't buy into Heat culture, but there is something to they've got some young bodies that are talented and could certainly push you. I would live in fear of a Tyler Hero snarl filled fourth quarter at sometimes, but I think you win that series. But yeah, I don't think it's anywhere near the Caleb Martin distress that we've had from previous seasons, and no Jimmy Butler, like all that stuff that used to drive us nuts. I think you feel pretty confident in them. And again, like, are they going to hit 24 threes? I would hate to have to see that stupid red light flashing after every basket for an entire series. When did this start? Did I not notice this in like earlier meetings? It's the dumbest thing ever.
It's horrible. It's legitimately horrible. And frankly, I think negligent, because you might have some people with like epilepsy or something.
Yes.
Yeah, that's Heat culture for you, ableist bastards. But yeah, no, like the thing about the Heat is like Spo is the puppet master. I feel like Joe is the puppet master's puppet master now. Like Spo after that game, like in his press conference, looked like apoplectic. Like he looked like I am all out of ideas. Like this man has bested me. And we generated whatever we wanted that entire game. And obviously we were hot from 3-2, and that helps, but they didn't bother us at all. And a lot of my Heat concerns were always Jimmy Butler related, just because he knows how to grift. He gets guys in foul trouble. He can generate a look he wants at any time in a playoff game. And without him, like they really do not scare me this year. When I say that, and we'll be like, and we're going to Boston for game 7 in round 1 in about a month and a half. But
look, we got to pay the bills here. We've got to get to a quick ad read. I think we'll come back and we'll summarize the happy path, the unhappy path, and then we've got some sort of broader stuff about the season to get to before we wrap it up. But first, Spoonie, a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks.
The playoff push is heating up and tournament hoops are here. There's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action, the Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And with their brand new team pick market, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with team picks on Prize Picks. There's so much good basketball going on. Like, look at this. Jaylen Brown, more points. You cannot go wrong. Jason Tatum, more points, rebounds, assists. He's already got like the second most double-doubles on the team this year. Definitely more on anything related to Jason Tatum. And dare I say, like, more Nimi Katie rebounds. Nimi's just been a monster on the glass recently. And on Prize Picks, you can even pick who's going to cut down the nets in a couple of weeks or who's going to win a ring this summer. Whether it's the tournament, the playoffs, or even the international baseball tournament, I can call my shot and cash in if I make the right picks, all on Prize Picks. Team picks are available now in 35 states, including California, Texas, Georgia, Washington, and my home state of West Virginia. It makes it super easy to pick game winners, spreads, and totals on Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right.
Shout out Prize Picks. Shout out the CLNS Media Network for presenting the First of the Floor YouTube show, audio podcast. Make sure you subscribe, hit the like button. While you're at it, go check out Celtics Talk as well. I'm sure if you are somehow aware of the show, you're very much aware of the very big TV network that Chris Forsberg works for and the subsequent podcast that he puts out on a regular basis. Post-game shows, by the way, Chris, I'm loving those. So, sounds like it's a resounding tip of the cap towards the Toronto Raptors as being the ultimate happy path. All the while, I am a shed head, but there's too many seals up there in Toronto, I think, to go at. And like looking down the list of even just like 3-point efficiency across their starters, there's probably enough opportunity to help off guys. And you could just imagine a defensive scheme that favors the Celtics. I don't like the idea, if I'm a Raptors fan, of Jakob Poeltl being brought out to the perimeter by one of the Jays or Derek White. It just seems like they're ultimately too vulnerable. It's been a great regular season for them, but I'm not worried about heading up to Toronto for a couple of playoff games, Forsberg.
All I remember is early in the season seeing them up near the top of offensive rating, and I was like, this just doesn't feel sustainable, and it bore itself out where, you know, again, like on a random night, they can catch fire. They got a bunch of intriguing young pieces that I don't know what the plan is. Like, hopefully, I assume they're going to be part of the Giannis pursuit or whatever, but just doesn't feel like they have the right collection to be a legitimate threat. Credit to them. Again, they've kind of distinguished themselves. They're probably the most likely of those teams to be out of the play-in. And yet, like, they're still going to have to work to ensure that. And like I said, if they're the 5, like if I'm Cleveland, like, man, like that, like, it feels like the bracket really breaks well for them. I don't think they're capable of pushing any of the top 4.
Yeah, let me ask you a question that it's just come to me. That, you know, so we didn't ask you to prepare for it. So you're on the hot seat now, Forsberg. This is obviously purely hypothetical because the top 4 seeds are basically locked in. But would you rather play the Pistons or the Knicks in the second round?
See, the ultimate wild card is like, what does Cade look like?
Let's say he's healthy. Let's say
if he's healthy, I do think the one reason I would still lean the Knicks, besides the home court advantage, you know, assuming that we're slotting 1, 2, 3, 4 as it is, would be that I can't imagine that the Celtics would look across and see the Knicks and not feel something from last year, you know, like a little bit of ingrained motivation, like Tatum, full circle. Here we are, the team that I tore my Achilles against. You know, I'm ready to go out there and be the player that we saw in Game 5 before that happened. And so I went for Game 4. So I wonder if that's if they would be motivated in that instance. And let's just face it, like the Knicks just have not been very good here towards the finish line. A little bit inconsistent, a little bit, you know, Brunson obviously is dealing with some stuff, and we'll see what they look like in the postseason. They certainly, you know, they showed it last year when they're doing those corner threes and they've got bodies that can at least make things difficult for the Jays. But yeah, I don't know. Like, it's weird to say, like, in a vacuum, if you were just like a 1-game series, I'd probably pick Detroit because I still think they have to prove they're ready for the moment. And I think the Celtics can match up pretty well with them. And yet, especially because of the offensive limitations. Like, are they just going to score consistently enough in a 7-game series? But I don't know. Maybe I just want the hype of the next series. I just want to kind of look. I'm not even a New York guy. I don't love going to MSG. I love that building, but I just like New York in general is just a hassle. Too much going on in that city. I will. But I do think the Celtics would be motivated, so wouldn't be the worst to get a little second round rematch there.
Yeah, Spoonie, is there a thing with the Pistons where like that no one believes in us? There's like a motivational aspect that we're sort of yet to see.
Do they believe in themselves?
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the only thing I can kind of put in favor of the Pistons in terms of fearing a second round matchup compared to the Knicks. For me, as the kids say, I don't know if the kids still say this, I want that smoke, like I want the revenge factor of going up against the Knicks and the whole like completing of the circle of everything you said, Forsberg, as far as the Tatum injury is concerned. But Spoonie, do you have a preference there? Sorry, go ahead, Forsberg.
No. I was just the only thing on that is like the only thing that would really concern me with Detroit would be like, would Nemi get early foul trouble, and then you got to lean on like a Vooch or a Garza, and are they ready for that moment? But that's the only little stuff, and that's going to really be a thing throughout the postseason, just because how many good bigs they might encounter.
Yeah, I it's really tough, man. I kind of go back and forth. Part of me feels like maybe I'm a little like overthinking last year's series. Like Jaylen Brown is just a completely different guy who's clearly hurt last year against the Knicks. And when you have Jaylen operating at 100% and Tatum operating at, I don't know, 90%, like I just don't think Bridges can guard either of them. And that's basically all the Knicks have on the wing. I mean, then it's like Deuce McBride, Landry Shamit's out there, that Diawara guy. The Pistons have a lot of bodies. Like they have just a lot of dudes who can go out there and at least play really hard. Like Beef Stews, I think one of the best defensive players in the NBA. He's kind of shooting threes now. I am like interested to see what Duren looks like this year in the playoffs, because this will be his first time as being like kind of the second guy offensively. I think I actually kind of lean towards rather seeing Detroit, though. I just really think we could shut their water off offensively. It's like you just let Cade get his, switch everything, make him take 20, 30, 25, 30 shots, which he doesn't really want to do. He's kind of like a LeBron in that way, where he's like sort of wants to play make, and will get to his spots when he needs to. And then it's like, if you're going to, Tobias Harris is going to, make 5 threes, okay, we're going to lose that game. And I just don't believe in him to do that. Whereas the Knicks, like Brunson and Cat, like if they can get it going in the 2-man game, and like I worry about their offensive rebounding, although the Pistons offensive rebound too. So it's really close for me. I don't know. I could go back and forth, but I think you guys are both right. Like the emotional aspect of like coming back and beating the Knicks would make it all worth it. So I think on paper, the Pistons, but in reality on earth, give me the Knicks. Let's do it.
And then to steamroll, like if let's say it breaks the bracket, higher seeds win out. So then you have that momentum from beating the Knicks, and then you're going in against the Pistons. And even if the Pistons get through the first 2 rounds, and even if Cade's playing at a high level, I feel really good about the Celtics in that scenario. And a Celtics Pistons Eastern Conference Finals brings us full circle to 2008 and all that. So yeah. I'm all in for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, look, we're almost out of time. Before we let you go, you've covered a lot of Celtic seasons. We've been doing this pod for 8 years. We've seen quite a few Celtic seasons between us. How exactly do you categorize this season? And like for context, we were very much on Team Tank to begin the year, especially after the 0-3 start. We were also very much on the Baylor Scheinman will be out of the league in a year's time bandwagon. Never been happier to be wrong, but it's just left us with one of the most insane, like frankly, inspiring seasons that I can recall. So how do you characterize this season? I mean, how are you sort of framing it up in your mind? And when you look back on it in 5 years' time, what will be some of the standout memories, do you think?
It's funny. I was telling the Celtics do this like Shamrock Gala before the season. I vividly remember sitting there with Noah and Jack, and as they're getting ready to kind of like cover this season, and I'm going, it's going to be different, right? You're going from a season of this massive expectations where every loss felt like a death in your family. And now it's versus here's this year where there's just going to be there won't be that burden, and every win will feel good, and we'll cling to the silver linings. And like I thought there was a chance they would outkick expectations of the general public, but I certainly didn't think it would be to 55 wins or wherever the number ends up landing, and to be a legitimate title threat by the end of it. It's been refreshing. Again, like I think you can even tell, like when Porzingis came back, a lot of guys have said like there's a pressure playing here, right? Like it's when the burden of got to repeat, and as much as Joe tried to downplay it, I mean, that really wore on them throughout the course of the season. The bullseye is like not necessarily the bullseye is a real thing, but Boston is a real thing, and the banners and like the standard you're held to. Now maybe maybe that cranks up a notch as we get into the playoffs, and people can say, oh, you're playing with house money, but I think we're all at the point now where we think this is going to go pretty deep in the playoffs, and so I'll admit I've moved the goalpost at every opportunity, but only because like they've been that good, and because like Tatum looks that good this quickly, and Jalen went up to a level that I don't think a lot of people thought he could get to, and so yeah, I think it's been a really really fun season. It's a really good like it's clear Brad and Joe have a type where like in terms of like how hard they play and the mentality they take, but I got to sit down with a lot of these guys, and where there's a thing coming tomorrow that I'm essentially stealing from Noah. The whole Catan thing that has become like just like the most wholesome, the team playing board games, and like Ugo now on board number 10 because he keeps losing all the pieces. It's like it's just like an endearing group, and it's so funny because like here I am in the studio and I got Eddie House and Scal, and they're just like the most competitive people, even 20 years removed from the championship season, where they would bet on like literally everything, arm wrestling, and like who could eat a sandwich fat, like everything was a competition. And now we have this group of Baylor Shireman and his mullet, and Ugo and his floppy 20-year-old hair, and they're playing Catan in the back of the plane, and it's just very wholesome and enjoyable, and I never take these things for granted. Nothing. I think I've probably said it 100 times when we try to rank the seasons, it gets very difficult. But championship seasons always supersede everything. Although I do think the Isaiah Thomas MVP top 5 year is above all, just because of how unexpected it is. And I do see some shades of that, right? Like where you knew there was some talent, but you didn't know how far it could go. And obviously Isaiah's body bulking conspired against all those teams. But yeah, it's just been fun. From a night to night basis, watching this team has been a joy, and getting the injection of Tatum in the middle of it, and seeing how good he's been. There's there's 2 days since he's been back where people lost their mind because he had one bad shooting night, and other than that, it's been fun to just appreciate how much fun it's been.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Like the IT year is what we've been comparing it to this whole time, where the low expectations and just constantly being like, I cannot believe these guys are this good. Like, this is incredible. It is also shades of, I think it was the 2018 playoffs where Kyrie and Gordon Hayward were hurt. And we were like, oh, well, nothing's going to happen. Fun season. Yeah. We'll see what happens next year. And then it's like, we're in the Eastern Conference Finals. We're going to games like, are we going to make the finals this year? Then that is kind of how I feel, like looking at the board, looking at the playoff matchups, seeing how good Tatum's playing. It's like, I think we're the best team in the East. Like, I truly think we're the best team in the East. And going from, wouldn't, Cam Boozer look good on this team in October to this has just been a whirlwind. It's been awesome.
Well, I think the thing that stands out to me compared to some of the other top vibes season, because this is a vibe season for the ages as far as I'm concerned, but there seems to be, as a result of what's happened with the Celtics this year, this league-wide acknowledgement and recognition of something special in the culture space happening with the Celtics. And they've always been like a top 5 culture team up there with like the Spurs and the Thunder and maybe the Nuggets and those kind of upper echelon, well-run organizations. But it seems to have gone to a new tier this year. And there seems to be this sort of even begrudging acceptance across opposing fan bases of that being like a hard-boiled fact. And I think, to me, like where we're seeing that manifest internally is guys like Neemias Queta, infamously dropped by the Kings a few years ago, now like critical, integral playoff piece, will not survive without Neemias Queta, which still feel like insane words to come flying out of my mouth. And then we talked about the Baylor Shireman thing, and just the fact that everyone, Josh Minott, Jordan Walsh, Ugo Gonzalez. Everyone's had this turn of looking like a credible rotation, potentially playoff-worthy piece. And I just think the culture and playoff development, and obviously like credit to all the individuals that make that happen within the organization. I just think that's a standout aspect of this season that I don't think has been as notable in like the Isaiah Thomas season, for example, and other championship runs. So it's very distinct in that sense.
I don't want to scoop myself. We got something coming later. Like we were working on something last year about like player development, and we just ended up kind of pushing it to this year. I vividly remember the day they traded for Derek White, sitting down with Brad and kind of like talking about like what was happening moving forward. And obviously they were pretty excited about, not only did they get White that day, I think Tice came back that day. And so look, they thought there was something possible there, and obviously it certainly launched in the aftermath. But Brad was like, we need to start developing guys. And he even pointed to the Heat and not necessarily Heat culture, but the idea that like they always seem to find somebody who would be on a two-way and then would elevate and would be just a player for them. And it felt like the Celtics were just kind of churning two-way guys a little bit, and they would have guys that were interesting but never could quite crack it. And understandably, with especially the last couple of years with the roster they've had. But just like you said, like, did I know that Baylor Scheierman had this crazy basketball IQ and ability to just impact the game and earn Joe's trust? I mean, it's been remarkable to watch everyone embrace their opportunity. I mean, people forget, but Jordan Walsh was getting, was it Austin Reeves who was like, he might be one of the best defenders in the NBA.
Yeah.
And then he's like 20 straight DNPs. So it's incredible that they've tapped into this, that they have so much positivity even beyond this season. I do think, regardless of how this all shakes itself out, I think that's again, I've moved the goalpost, so it's gonna hurt no matter what how it ends, if it doesn't end with a championship. And yet, like, things are really bright beyond this year because of what you learned this year, what you developed this year. And it feels like an embarrassment of riches because it's not supposed to go like this. And I do wonder what happens when the Sacramento King fans turn on a Celtics game. They gotta like, don't you just like go, I'm gonna go watch soccer. Like, it's just, I'm not gonna watch. Yeah. I can't do this anymore. At least you got to light the beam here, but like watching guys like Nimi blossom here has to be just infuriating for that fan base.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I love that. The Schadenfreude aspect of watching the pain emerging from other franchises is one of the more satisfying aspects of the season. I know we've all got to go. We've all got sort of various deadlines we've got to stick to. We've got to get to the super chat. We can't ignore the paid comments, but Plain Alienful asks, sorry for the detour from Celtics talk, but I got to know what Forsberg 3 favorite DMB songs are to see live.
All right, so first off, this is like picking your favorite children. But if I'm gonna do this off the top of my head, I would say 41, Two Step, and I would have to put in some research. Maybe Stone.
Okay.
And then for non-DMB fans, that's just like he's just rattling off like weird words.
Sounds,
but,
yeah.
But just trust me on that. If you're and I don't know if anyone is at this point, it should be diving directly into Dave's catalog, but start with those three and you'll be amazed.
Love it.
I got a long drive ahead of me, so I might chuck on some Dave Matthews in the car. I'm sure the family
start
will
with
love
Celtics talk. Turn that off quickly, and then just throw on the Dave Matthews. Pick up any of the live track albums that are out there, and you'll cover your drive in maybe 3 songs.
Right, yeah, right. Like a plan. Forsberg, thank you so much for taking the time. It's been awesome having you back. Any parting words for the audience before we wrap this one up?
Just enjoy. I think I've tried to remind myself, because I'm the worst after losses, and I like to yell and scream, and the playoffs will be tough. But this has been really fun, and you guys will make it fun for your listeners, and just enjoy the ride, because like I got a good feeling about it, but it's like 2 months of you never know where it's going to take you, and I can't wait to see what happens.
Well, look, we wish you many long months ahead of work as the Celtics go deep into the postseason selfishly. Thanks, everyone. Wayne Spooney, love your work, man. Until next time, go Celts.